Hence, even wood and stone are of the essential nature of consciousness, otherwise they could not be apprehended. Again, the analogy with the dream states of use here. The dream gives us apparent diversity. The dreamer is interacting with that diversity, getting emotionally involved. Is there essentially any difference between the consciousness of the dreamer and the objects in the dream? We can see how the whole mechanism works when we consider the dreamer and the dream. The dreamer is consciousness, and the objects of the dream are aspects of that consciousness. Consciousness is getting involved in the aspects of that dream and forgetting that it's a dream. So just as we perceive objects, these objects are essentially, fundamentally the same. And this is the assumption of physics, isn't it? Physics assumes the homogeneity of all things. It is trying to bring this all down to the one fundamental particle. Although they seem to have got more than one, but they keep trying to get down to the fundamental. The assumption is there's one fundamental reality underlying all the rest of the apparent diversity. This is the intuition. And not only that, but the very fact that we can apprehend these objects shows that they must be of the same nature of our apprehension, of our knowing. In the same way that we can know these objects indicates that they must be of the same nature of our knowing. Whatever there is in this world is pure consciousness. Though the objects, like wood and wax, may appear to be different, they are non-different from the observer's viewpoint, since it is the same observer that observes both of them, and the observer is consciousness. You become conscious of something. You can only become conscious of something which is of the same nature as consciousness. So it's all consciousness. The egosense that perceives the diversity is the creator of the division. This is the cognitive process again. The egosense is bondage, and its cessation is liberation. It's a cognitive process in the sense that we are caught up in it. The egosense is what is caught up in the cognitive process. It's what passionately identifies, even stronger than passion, it existentially identifies with its own divisions that it created. And this is bondage, and its cessation is liberation. It is so simple. It might not seem simple when it's expressed in words. This all might seem quite heavy going. I'm not racking my head here to come up with intellectual arguments. It's about reducing things to their simplest terms. When you do that, the language can get awfully complicated. Where is the difficulty? The division has arisen, just as the vision of two moons arises in Diplopia. I couldn't find anything on the internet about Diplopia. It seems to be peculiar to Yoga Vasishta, but it's clearly some visual defect, some kind of double vision. In that case, how can it be said to have arisen? If you see two moons, if you suffer from double vision and you see two moons, you wouldn't describe the other moon as having arisen. It is false. Consciousness and inertness cannot be related to each other. In other words, there isn't anything which is non-consciousness. Inertness is being held up here as something which isn't consciousness. But that is so, how can we be aware of it? Consciousness cannot become unconsciousness. It is consciousness alone which somehow thinks it is inert, and then the limitation bounces down into the conception of materiality like a rock from a hilltop. And there's an unavoidable momentum to that rock, to that process of materiality, which we cling to. We cling to. We're not going to let go of it, are we? This is materiality. This is materiality. It's not a concept, is it? Yes, it is. It's a notion. There's only sensations going on. There's only experiencing going on, which we can divide up into notions as much as we like. But that's all it is. It's all notional. Come back to the experiencing.